Brian, do you have an outline for me?
Yes.
When you're done, that's fine.
In October 2009 alone, in Multnomah County, there were 162 heroin-related arrests. According to a report released last year by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, just 1/5 of inmates who get some form of treatment for their addiction. What is the result of this? There's a 50% chance that There's a 50% chance that people who are arrested for heroin-related charges that go untreated will have a repeat offense. And of the 2.3 million inmates in the U.S., more than half have a history of drug abuse and dependence. There are also other crimes that have its roots in drug addiction. In many cases, their crimes, such as robbery, have been committed in service of feeding their addictions. Dr. Josiah Rich, a professor of medicine and community health at Brown University, is worried that by refusing or neglecting to provide treatment to these addicts, many U.S. prisons are missing the best chance to cure them, and in the process cut down on future crime. According to the DEA, treatment can reduce repetition rates from 50% down to something more like 20%. The NIDA released a study result that heroin addicts who received no treatment in jail were 7 times as likely to be treated inmates to become re-addicted, and 3 times as likely to end up in prison again. Yet this is not widely provided. When someone addicted to heroin, they don't get treatment, they're likely to get addicted to heroin again, says Rich. The drug has biologically changed their brains. You can tie someone down and make sure they don't get any opiates, and you can keep them there for years, and the day they walk out, they can still get opiates. The question is, are we trying to punish people, or are we trying to rehabilitate people? What do we want out of this? The most dangerous thing about heroin and other similar drugs is the risk for overdose. This occurs at complete random, where a change of scenery or people involved can make a normal dose deadly. This phenomenon is called place conditioning. In the case of heroin, it's a highly ritualized behavior which usually takes place in a certain location with the same group of people. When using in a familiar place, there is an increased tolerance for the drug due to previous experiences under the influence in that area. When the user injects a new location, the environment condition tolerance does not occur and results in a greater effect. This increase in effect can mean that the standard dose for a user in a new location may suddenly be deadly and result in an overdose.
Are you sure you don't want to try using that little thing one more time?
The following reasons argue that heroin abuse is more than just a crime. It damages people in ways that need to be treated properly and not punished. Physical dependence. Heroin withdrawal is extremely arduous and often keeps addicts on the drug. Altered brain chemistry. Irreparable damage to the nervous system can easily occur. Loss of income due to addiction, using at work, missing work, or because of sickness, lack of productivity. Unmanageable finances. For those without endless money to spend, addiction is very expensive. As tolerance grows, more heroin needs to be illegally purchased, which leads to arrests, robberies, and assaults. When added to the expense of heroin itself, it is extremely costly. Deteriorating relationships. As heroin addiction becomes more severe, addicts isolate themselves from people who they perceive to be a threat to continue their use. Failing health. Heroin addictions can cause very serious medical threats like liver disease, infection of the heart, pulmonary problems, including some kinds of pneumonia, and for intravenous users, collapse of veins. This is also in addition to the deadly threat of overdose every single time heroin is taken. Legal troubles. Since heroin is not only addictive but illegal, the possession of it alone will result in jail time. Many addicts also have run-ins with the law when they resort to illegal activity to support this habit. These afflictions are not something that just one person can overcome. They need help from another, not to be thrown in prison. To disregard these people as criminals and shove them into prison is only a temporary solution to a problem that just won't go away. It's as if we seem to think that placing people with serious drug issues in a system that thrives on these type of substances will help them. Instead, they will be damaged by the prison atmosphere without any solution or help in any way for the reason they entered in the first place. They will then leave with a criminal record, jail time served, and released in the streets with no guidance to do anything else but use again. Programs for drug abusers in the prison system are being shorted funding due to overcrowding and lack of concern with the public eye. Programs to help treat inmates will instead be beneficial for funding despite the initial cost of treatment. Part of the reason is that pharmacological treatments, such as giving heroin addicts methadone to help them through withdrawal, requires a lot of regulation and thus it's very expensive in the short run. However, for every dollar spent, the program saves $2 to $6 by reducing the cost of reincarceration according to the Human Rights Watch. This program can help the justice system save $47,000 per inmate. That's the case as long as treatment programs have been around, judging by a 1991 government report which showed that only 1/5 of drug-addicted inmates who needed treatment were able to get it. The financial problem has only worsened as the economy has deteriorated. Florida, for instance, Corrections Secretary Walter McNeil recently suggested a $36 million budget cut that would close most of the state's publicly funded treatment centers. However, State Senator John Whitmer, who had been robbed at gunpoint by a known heroin addict, said, "I would much rather spend money on his addiction than face that gun again. It isn't about being soft on crime, it's about being tough, but also smart." There are currently programs that are working hard to help inmates who need help, and they are showing good signs. The Sheridan Correctional Center in Illinois, a dedicated center for treating prisoners with drug and alcohol problems. Nearly 2 years after it opened in January 2004, about 8% of convicts leaving Sheridan ended back up in prison. This is compared to a 54% return statewide. This program provides speakers as well as self-help groups that allow inmates to set goals for their lives after prison. Many of these people just need help of a second chance at a new life. For example, one inmate wrote under the category titled, "Describe how you see yourself in 5 years." He wrote, "A highly respected citizen living life on my own terms, truly providing for my family and my lovely children." Someone like this may never have given the opportunity to turn his life around and had been sentenced to prison and released back into society untreated and without any plans for the future. Programs like this one are working, and despite the initial cost of treating these people, the country will save millions in the long run and lower crime rates, as well as countless other benefits from rehabilitating these people. We can no longer label these addicts as criminals, and instead of convicting them and sending off to prison, continue abusing, we must treat them as people who need our help.